"Leave the baby at home or don't come over," my mom texted. A minute later my dad followed up. "We just want a quiet dinner." I stared at the screen while my son, Oliver, tugged at the drawstring on my hoodie with sticky hands. I typed back one word. Understood. I stayed home. And so did the $6,800 tuition transfer I'd been covering for my sister. By 11 a.m. the next morning, my phone looked like it was having a panic attack. 22 missed calls. One text. "Call me now." My name is Silas Mercer. I'm 34, a freelance software consultant, and, apparently, the family inconvenience. Oliver was asleep on my chest when the calls started rolling in. The soft rhythm of his breathing steadied me. Outside, rain tapped against the kitchen window, that thin February drizzle that makes the world feel smaller than it is. I'd been sending that tuition money quietly for 2 years. No speeches. No recognition. Just automatic transfers like clockwork. Because family helps family. But family doesn't always help back. When my mom said quiet dinner, she didn't mean calm. She meant curated. Controlled. Child-free. She meant my son, my entire world, was too loud for their aesthetic. I looked down at Oliver's tiny hand wrapped around my finger. Then my phone buzzed again. Dad. For a second I considered ignoring it. But the silence on the other end felt louder than any crying baby ever could. I didn't answer. Instead, I set my phone face down on the kitchen counter and poured myself coffee I didn't really want. It tasted burnt, but I drank it anyway. Punishment, maybe. Or clarity. The calls kept coming. Dad. Mom. Then my sister Mariah. That one almost made me laugh. Mariah hadn't called me in months unless it was about tuition deadlines or temporary gaps in her budget. Private university wasn't cheap. $6,800 a semester wasn't cheap. But I told myself I was investing in her future. Because when our mom went back to school, no one helped her. Dad never let her forget that. So I stepped in. Oliver stirred in his crib when the phone buzzed again. I walked over, brushing a curl off his forehead. He smelled like baby shampoo and warm milk. Small. Real. Mine. The phone lit up with another text. Mariah, Silas, what is going on? The payment didn't go through. There it was. Not, how are you? Not, why didn't you come to dinner? Just the transaction. Rain streaked down the window like something trying to erase the outside world. I remembered last night, setting Oliver in his car seat, ready to leave, then reading my mom's message again. Leave the baby at home. As if he were a coat. My phone buzzed once more. Dad. This time he left a voicemail. His voice wasn't angry. It was scared. And that changed everything. I stood there for a full minute before pressing play. Dad's voice came through rougher than I expected. Silas, we need to talk. Just call me back, okay? It's important. No yelling. No lecture. Just urgency. That was new. I picked up Oliver and settled into the couch, his weight warm against my chest. The rain had stopped, leaving that damp, metallic smell in the air. My phone felt heavier than it should have. I called back. Mom answered on the first ring. Silas, she exhaled like I'd just come up for air after nearly drowning her. Why didn't you tell us you weren't coming? I did, I said evenly. You told me not to. That's not what we meant. It's exactly what you meant. There was a pause. I could hear plates clinking in the background. They were already cleaning up a dinner I wasn't allowed to attend. Dad took the phone. Your sister's account shows unpaid status. They've flagged her enrollment. I leaned back, staring at the ceiling fan slowly turning above me. I know. Silence again. You've always been responsible, Dad said carefully. This isn't like you. He didn't ask if I was okay. He didn't ask about Oliver. He asked about money. I glanced down at my son, who blinked up at me with that unfocused, trusting stare only babies have. Yeah, I said quietly. It's not like me. And for the first time in years that felt like a good thing. Mom got back on the line. Silas, don't do this, she said like I was holding something fragile over a ledge. Mariah's semester starts Monday. I shifted Oliver onto my shoulder and walked toward the window. The street outside was drying in uneven patches, sunlight slipping through like it was testing the ground first. Don't do what? I asked. You know what, she pressed. Punishing your sister because of a misunderstanding. I let that word hang there. Misunderstanding. Like I misread, leave the baby at home. Like I misheard, we just want a quiet dinner. Dad cleared his throat. We didn't think it would upset you this much. I almost smiled at that. This much, I repeated. You mean choosing my son over dinner? No one asked you to choose. That's exactly what you asked. Oliver let out a soft sigh against my neck. The sound cut through everything. Small. Human. Unapologetic. Mariah's voice came faintly in the background. Did he answer? Is he paying it? There it was again. Not my name. Not my son's name. Just the transaction. I swallowed. I've covered her tuition for 4 semesters. I never missed one. And we appreciate that, Mom said quickly. Do you? I asked. The line went quiet. Because appreciation doesn't ask you to hide your child. And family doesn't get to call your love inconvenient. I closed my eyes for a second. Then I said something I'd never said before. No. The word settled between us like a glass set down too hard. No. Dad repeated as if it were a language he'd never heard before. No, I said again, steadier this time. I'm not sending it. Mom inhaled sharply. Silas, you're being emotional. That one almost made me laugh. I looked down at Oliver, now awake, staring up at me like I was the most stable thing in his world. His tiny fingers wrapped around my thumb, trusting without question. Emotional. If loving your son openly was emotional, then maybe I was finally getting something right. I've been practical for years, I said calmly. I budgeted. I sacrificed vacations. I took on extra clients so Mariah wouldn't have loans hanging over her head. We didn't ask you to do that, Dad said. You didn't have to. The house felt different now. Not tense. Clear. Mariah's voice came onto the line directly this time. So what, you're just done? Because Mom wanted one quiet dinner? It wasn't about dinner, I replied. Then what is it about? I walked to the hallway mirror and caught my reflection. Dark circles, unshaven jaw, baby on my hip. Not polished. Not curated. Real. It's about the fact that my son isn't optional, I said quietly. Silence again. Then Mariah said something softer. But you know I can't afford this on my own. And for the first time, it wasn't entitlement I heard. It was fear. Mariah's voice didn't sound sharp anymore. It sounded thin. I already signed the lease near campus, she said. Books, deposits. I don't have that kind of money, Silas. I leaned against the hallway wall, the paint cool through my shirt. Oliver had fallen asleep again, his breath warm against my collarbone. The house felt too quiet now, like even the air was waiting. I know, I said. Dad cut in. Then why are you doing this? Because something has to change. But I didn't say that out loud. Instead, I asked, did you know Mom told me not to bring Oliver? There was a pause. I mean, she just meant, Mariah started. No, I said gently. Did you know? Another pause. Longer this time. Yes. That word hit differently than Mom's text ever could. You didn't think that mattered? I asked. It was just one night. I closed my eyes. One night becomes a pattern. One request becomes expectation. One compromise becomes identity. I'm not cutting you off forever, I said finally. I'm stepping back. Stepping back from what? Dad asked. From being the silent solution. The word surprised even me. On the other end, no one argued. Because for the first time, I wasn't explaining my love. I was protecting it. And that changes the balance of every family equation. The silence on the line wasn't angry anymore. It was unsettled. Dad spoke first. So what happens now? For years, that question had an easy answer. I'd fix it. I'd cover it. I'd smooth it over so no one had to feel uncomfortable. But Oliver shifted in my arms, letting out a tiny sleepy sigh, and I realized something. I didn't want him growing up watching his father apologize for existing. What happens now, I said slowly, is Mariah applies for financial aid. We look at payment plans. Maybe you two help. Mom made a quiet sound. We're close to retirement. And I'm a single dad, I replied not sharply, just truthfully. No one spoke for a few seconds. Then Mariah surprised me. Can you help me figure that stuff out? The aid forms. Not pay it. Help. That word felt different. Yeah, I said. I can do that. Dad exhaled. Silas, about last night? I waited. We should have handled it better. Not an apology. But closer than we'd ever gotten. I looked out the window. The sun had finally broken through fully, lighting up the wet pavement like polished stone. Next time, I said quietly, we all come. Or none of us do. Mom didn't argue. And for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel like the extra chair at the table. I felt like the head of my own. We stayed on the phone another 20 minutes. Not arguing. Not negotiating. Planning. Mariah opened her laptop while I walked her through the financial aid portal step by step. Grants. Subsidized loans. Work-study options she'd ignored because she never had to look. Dad asked a few practical questions. Mom was quieter than usual. Oliver woke up halfway through and started babbling into my shoulder. I didn't mute him. I let them hear him. At one point, Mariah laughed softly. He sounds like you used to. That caught me off guard. How would you even remember that? I asked. I remember more than you think. When we finally hung up, nothing dramatic had happened. No shouting. No slammed doors. Just boundaries. I transferred $500, not tuition. Just enough to help with books while the aid processed. Not rescue money. Bridge money. That felt right. Later that evening, Mom texted. Dinner next Sunday. All of you. No conditions. I looked at Oliver playing on the floor with a wooden spoon and a mixing bowl like he'd discovered treasure. I used to think love meant absorbing every impact so no one else had to feel it. Turns out, love sometimes sounds like, no. And sometimes the most expensive thing you can give your family is the moment you stop paying for their silence.